Welcome back to the Badass Reset Club. I am your host, Heather Yancey, and I'm here with a real badass today. We are talking with Nathalie Plamondon Thomas, and she is our friend up to the north. And I met Nathalie a few months ago virtually, and then I got to meet her in person. And maybe that'll come out in this conversation, but what I really want you to hear and know today is how we can make impact, how Nathalie makes impact with people. And maybe you're going to be called to make a little more impact because truly that's what we're here for. Connection, community, and can we make this world a better place? So welcome, my friend Nathalie. So glad you're here.
I'm so happy. I'm so excited to be with you, Heather. I'm since the day we've met, I feel like there's been that connection. It's so great. You're an amazing host. I've listened to a lot of your podcasts already, so I'm very excited. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, fantastic. And we'll have to let everybody know where to listen into yours too before we leave today. I almost feel like I should bust out my French when I talk to you, but it's so rusty that I might embarrass myself. You might hear a
Oh,
word
good.
or two, maybe. So please tell us like how you found yourself in the line of work that you're in. Like where did you start with? Because I want everyone to know that we are talking to like the most empowering confidence coach in North America. And so if you need a dose and a kick in the butt today, you're talking to the right gal. How did that come about? How did you end up doing what you do?
Yeah. So I was in the fitness industry. So I moved from Quebec City, small town, 10,000 people, to Toronto, downtown. And I started working in a gym there. And I don't know if you've been in a situation like this before where you're brand new, you don't really know what you're doing, you don't know anybody, everybody's so much better than you. And then how you go from begging your boss from pulling your classes from the schedule, because there was only two people in my classes, to becoming fitness instructor of the year for Canada less than a year later. So I'll tell
Wow.
you what happened. So the gym was introducing a new dance program. I've danced in the past, so I thought, oh, I'll put my hand up to be part of the demo team. So picture yourself, you're on stage, right? You're in front of 150 instructors, you're demonstrating this new program, and you're super intimidated. And they're all so much better than you, but you're giving it. And you're like, and then you're doing your best, and you got it because you can see all the faces turning towards you with a shocked look on their face because they have no idea you could dance that way. So I don't know what it would do for you, but for me, it had a huge impact. I started strutting around in the gym as if I was the queen of the place, and my classes became packed. I was showing so much confidence. A few months later, somebody corners me in the gym and says, Natalie, I have to tell you, we really started respecting you. After what happened to you on that day, you acted as if it didn't bother you at all. And I'm like, what do you mean? What happened to me on that day? Well, Heather, it turns out I had a wardrobe malfunction on that day. Boing! One of my boobs decided to stick out during the performance. That's why everybody was looking at me with a shocked look on their face. So, of course, when she told me, I wanted to disappear, but it was too late. I was already the queen of the gym because I was responding to a different story in my head. And I'm going to say that again. I was responding to a different story in my head. This event could have ruined me. I would have went back to my little town, right?
Mhm.
However, because of the story I had in my head, it propelled me. So so it doesn't even matter what happens. What matters is how we react to what happens and what's happening in our own head. And that's when I started to be really interested in the brain and started studying neuroscience, started writing books, and now 18 books later, I've created this system to reprogram the layers of the brain so that we can create the reality that we want to support us. It doesn't even matter what happens. So how do we how people use their brain wrong, really, and what to do to make it works for you. So that's when it all started, and that's now I'm sharing this message around the world on stages, in my books, in my online courses, and with my one-on-one coaching clients as well.
Yes, fantastic. And so, like, am I understanding this correct? We're supposed to have a wardrobe malfunction to find our inner confidence. I
That's
just
it.
think, I mean, you took it from rock bottom because I probably would move to a different country if that happened. I'd be mortified, and then I'd have to go get your 18 books and get your coaching, and I'd be okay. Um, when and I love your stories, you tell them with such, oh, like you just leaning in. When I listen to you speak, I am inspired, but something like triggered me too when you sent out one of your emails. You've got fantastic newsletters that you send out with lots of great information and videos and fun stuff. And I was reading through it and I thought, oh, this one feels different. This one's a little more serious maybe, or perhaps maybe just a different side of you. And it was the one that you shared about when you're working in philanthropy and when you're working in giving, and how it was maybe a little bit hard for you to share that with people
Mhm,
because you don't want to put that on a stage. And I
mhm,
respect you for that, but I also like double respect for the fact that you're inspiring other people to do that. So I'd love to
mhm,
talk about that today too, and kind of mix it in with, your confidence, your brain work, all of that. Why is it like so important, and how, like start sharing how you got involved in that and like why it was important to you?
mhm. Um, what Heather is referring to, if you're listening to this, you haven't read the blog, I received, I believe, what is a prestigious award of Philanthropist of the Year in 2024. And 2 months later, I had not even mentioned anything. I had not even said anything to the world that I had received this award, because I have this rule, and that's been a long time rule for me. I believe it's potentially 20 years ago when, um, I I don't remember what I did, um, but I it was something simple, something like, I think I had, uh, offered a soup to a lady because, I was at a food court in a mall, and then the lady behind me looked like she was a street person, in the lineup, and she was holding this $10 bill. So, that looked a little. Hey, you know what? I'm just realizing we don't even have $10 bills anymore. So yeah, that's a long time ago. Because we don't have $10 bills in Canada anymore. That's so funny. So it was a long time ago. So she was holding this bill, and then, um, I think I bought her the soup or something, and I said, you know what, keep that, and then what do you want? I'll pay for your lunch. And then what I did after that is I told everybody about it. I told everybody that I did that, and somebody was like, "Oh, that's so sweet," and and one person said, "Why did you do that? Did you do that so you could brag about it right now, to us, and so that we would say that you're such a good person?" Like, this person was pretty harsh, and at the same time, it made me realize, oh my gosh, that's right. If I brag about it, I didn't do it for the right reason. So that's when I stopped sharing anything, because I thought, you know what? I created this rule in my head thinking, every day I need to do something for somebody. I need to open the door. I need to give a compliment, something simple. Like, I need to do something for others. We don't revolve around our own belly button. You know what I mean? Like, I need to do something that is for somebody else at least once a day. And if I tell somebody about it, then it doesn't count. And then I have to find another thing to do. So that's my rule. So if you tell someone, it doesn't count. You have to find something else to do. So that's when I started to do, uh, any time or money, charity, and that's when I decided to not share, what I would do, because then what's the point? If you're going to go brag about it, then it doesn't have the same impact in my mind. Thanks to that harsh person back then, I don't remember who it was, but yeah, that's how it started, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I don't think it's bragging. If if we're sharing truly to make others, see that light and want to do it too.
Mhm. Hmm.
For those of us who want to be more involved in helping others, do you have any advice for like where to start?
Hmm. Absolutely. So there's lots of things that you can do. It doesn't have to be um, millions of dollars. You can donate your time as well. I remember um, there's small little things we can do. The biggest impact that I that was breathtaking for me, and I started sobbing, is the story when I was in Haiti. So this is a big gesture, obviously. So you go on a trip somewhere, and we had raised $50,000, and um, so
Oh,
so it's a big gesture. But it doesn't have to be a big gesture, because some of the orphans in Haiti I still sponsor. So it's costing me $30 a month, and with that $30, they have a bed sheet, they have a hard boiled egg, some once in a while, extra protein, and maybe a piece of chicken at Christmas. Like there's the special meals, and then usually they have this. There's 2 meals per day for the orphans. So there's rice and beans for lunch and for dinner.
hmm.
And at the school where there's 600 children, they get 1 meal per day at school at lunch, and then the orphans that don't have families to go to stay at the orphanage, and then they get a dinner. And for them, they don't have parents, right?
Hmm.
And yet they are considered like the lucky ones because they get a second meal a day. And I have seen at lunchtime at school some of the children eating half of their 1 scoop of rice that they would get, and climb over the fence to give the other half to their family waiting on the outside, because food is really scarce, especially after we were there after an earthquake. So that trip was food was really, really scarce. All the gardens had been devastated, and
Um,
so so for that reason, I'm just putting you in context. And the story is not there yet when I was bawling my eyes out. It's a technique that was teaching the kids one day, teaching them the circle of excellence. And um, it's a technique. You draw an imaginary circle. When you don't feel good, you step into that circle, you power pose, it makes you feel better. So they're listening, they're attentive. I love these kids. They're always smiling, they're always happy. And then Jasmine, one of the youngest girl, um, and Angelina come to me and say, when again do we go in the circle? I said, well, when you don't feel good, when you're not happy,
mhm.
but aren't we always happy? So now I'm just about to cry and I don't know what to say. And I'm like, you know what? Don't worry about this technique. This is just for us in Canada. We do this when when we don't feel good. So Jouvencely, one of the twin brothers, grabs my hand and he says, oh, you're not happy in Canada? You have everything in Canada. So now I'm bawling my eyes out, and now they come to hug me, to console me, because poor me, I'm not happy in Canada, right? So somehow you don't need much. Like a small, like if you have $50 to give in a year, that that's a huge difference for them. And my $30 a month, I've started to calculate the things that I want in children instead of in dollars. So if I want a pair of boots, that's $90. It's 3 children, right? So do I really need to have that pair of boots, or could I add on the number of kids that I can sponsor? So this is just one of the things that I do, but there's so many other things that you can do. It can be just your friend is doing a 10K run for ovarian cancer, and then you give them $25 and it's fine, right? Like a small gesture will make a difference. So with charity, you kind of have to look into the charities you want to donate to. I
Mhm.
have different rules. Some of when it's a close friend, whatever they're doing, of course I'll support them. Of course I'll donate and I'll give something, right? But the amount might be smaller than if it's a really good cause that I've investigated and that I know that 100% of the money goes to the research, and it doesn't go to pay all the salaries of the people
Yep.
working at that. You know what I mean? So there's
Yep.
there's different things that I look into, and there's different foundations. There's my school where I went to in Quebec City at Le Petit Séminaire de Québec that I donate. They have all kinds of different fundraisers that I support because that's where I went to school. It's important to me. So whatever is important to you. So there can be many different choices, right? That you can
Yeah.
do. And if you don't have money, you can donate time.
Let's
So
talk
I go
about
to, yeah,
it.
I go to Night Shift. So Night Shift is an organization. It's a different churches, different organizations that are all taking a shift at night. It's in Wally, so it's an area of Surrey where I live, north, just south of Vancouver, where there's a lot of street people living on the street, and we serve them a meal every night. So every night they can come to have food with us, and then um, the um, the organization has different jobs, right? So you can go there. And I remember when I started, I was petrified, so scared because, like we're not, I'm not going to say we, I'm going to say I was not comfortable with street people because I personally have never touched drugs in my life. I don't drink. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I was so out of my comfort zone, and I wanted to be inside the food truck at the back, pouring the soup into the cups. I didn't even want to see them because I was so scared. That's me, right? And then eventually I moved to the person through the food truck window giving the soup, and then I became the person taking orders on the in the street
Mm.
for hot chocolate or coffee, right? And I was chat and then eventually I became the person who would just be walking around chatting with them to just be the contact, right? And I remember one summer what we did is we created a spa. So we did a spa night. So we had a table, we had gloves and wipes, and then they would come and then we would wash their hands, wipe their hands, and then for the girls we would put nail polish, and then we would massage their hands and their forearms because when you live on the street, it's everyone for themselves. There's not a lot of contact, human contact. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
touching. So it was so nice. And guess what happens when you are massaging somebody's hand? They can't go anywhere, right? So they have to talk to you. And you know what I do for a living? I'm a confidence coach. So guess what? They get brainwashed, right? Like they don't have a choice. They can't go anywhere, right? So they have to open up. They have to tell me what's going on. I do PTSD and trauma, so I can help during that time. And then we do the massage, and magic happens, right? Hope happens during that time. I remember one of the guy, he was telling me, because I said, so talk to me about what you did before, right? So talk to me about your past. How did you grow up? What's a Christmas memory that you have, or whatever. So by making them talk about when they used to be a person that was in society, it reminds them, oh my gosh, wow, okay, I used to not live on the street. It was not always like this, and everybody has different story. And one
True.
of them lost everything after his wife had cancer, and they didn't have insurance, and some of the pills were like $800 a pill, and it was very expensive because they didn't have any insurance. And sold his house. They moved into a smaller apartment, and she didn't even survive. She didn't make it, and he had lost everything, and he had lost his job because he needed to stay home to take care of her. And then he started drinking because she didn't make it, and he had lost everything, and now he's on the street. Like everybody has their story, right? Not
Yeah.
like people are not malicious and getting up in the morning and say, how can I go live on the street because I'm selfish and I just think about myself, and I want the society to take care of me. That's absolutely not true. I've heard so many stories, and everybody has a right to share their story. So one night I'm talking to this gentleman, and I asked him, so what did you do before? Did you ever have a job? And he said, yeah, I was installing garage doors. He was he was working for a company who installed garage doors. And I was like, oh, that's a great skill to have. He said, oh, I don't have any skills. I'm like, what do you mean? You used to do that. Would you remember how to do this? I said, of course I would. I've done that for 10 years. So I'm like, okay. And I wonder if they would need help. If because I'm thinking there might be some companies that would hire. And I wonder if you could get a job doing that again. He said, oh, well, okay, well, maybe. And then the week after, I go back on Saturday night and he comes for the dinner and then he tells me I got a job. So he's not having enough money yet to buy an apartment, to live in an apartment, but it won't be long because now he's getting more hours and all of a sudden he's got a job to fix garage door. Like you don't know what kind of impact you can have, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's programs, there's different things, and of course the community helped him through the programs that they have, but you need to spark the idea first that you have a skill, because in his head he didn't have any skills, but he worked
Right.
anyway, right? Like it's just
Right.
interesting,
Yeah.
just very interesting.
I've
So
never even, like in my wildest dreams, thought about a spa night. And do you know how that came about? Do you know who started that, how it started, or how people get word that it's happening?
oh well, they just show up every night at 7 anyway to get the
Okay,
meal, and then
for
all of a
dinner.
sudden there's a table there, and then we decide. But it's one of my friend Darcy Stemner, or she changed her last name now, and Darcy Steffen. She is um, such an inspiration. She had the idea of doing a spa, and she brought a pink tablecloth with flowers, and like she goes all out, and I just come and tag along. So I give her all the credit for this idea, and introducing me to night shift as well. Like she's always involved in so many different organizations,
Hmm.
and she shares with me what and I always ask her, so what do you do now? Where are you volunteering now? Oh, can I come? Like it's just, yeah, it makes you
Wonderful.
feel
Well,
so good.
yes, and it gives us lots of hope, and it sparks, right? Like one thing after the other. I think what's really important is to think about one of the things that you said when you want to go shop for something. I think
Mm-hmm,
everybody should do that. If I'm about to drop some amount of money on something for myself that I don't absolutely need, who needs
mm-hmm,
something more, and how do you do
mm-hmm.
that? That has
Yeah,
been that's been eye-opening for me.
that's another one of my rule. If I do buy the designer bag for $300 and it's completely ridiculous, I mean, really, who needs a purse that's $300, right?
Right.
But if I do it, and then I need to match it.
Yep.
That's my rule. So I need to match it. If I splurge on $300 on something completely frivolous, I need to spend $300 on a charity, and I need to send a check right now. Or credit
Hmm.
card now, but I need to go click on a website and give $300 somewhere. So that $300 bag that I want to buy, I need to really want it because it's $600 that it's going to cost me, because I have to match it. I have
Yeah.
to match it. That's kind of another one of my rules that I like to do. But sometimes it's donation for friends or for
Okay.
people. Like I'm vice president of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers,
Hmm.
and I believe in that organization. We have a CAPS Academy, so we have different events. So I've paid many times for people to come to convention because they could not afford it, or just to go to an event uh, because they could not afford it, or they could not afford the hotel or the flight to get there. And I've paid for them in the background so they would not lose their pride. You know what I mean? So nobody
Oh,
knew. Paid for them just because I know the impact that others will have on them. It doesn't
yeah.
need to be me. I'm not necessarily going to be on stage, but if they come to that convention, that will impact their speaking business big time. So I know about that, and then I've helped them get to this, or I've paid for some people to take some of our courses, or gave some of my online courses away, or like it doesn't have to be a check. It doesn't have to be time. Sometimes it's just allowing somebody uh, to learn from you as well, right? So yeah, that makes a difference.
Beautifully said. And what a beautiful life and demonstration that is. I mean, this is why I wanted you to come on here and share this, because I know that it gave me such like joy in my heart to hear this. And I seek out the good in people, and yours is just like, you're oozing the good, and it's a great example. So don't feel like you're bragging, but I do want to know, do you think maybe book number 19 could be your rules for making the world a better place?
I already have book number 7 or 8 is Think Yourself Grateful. So I
There you
already
go.
have a gratitude and charitable. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Is there anything that you would like to add to this that you'd like our listeners to know? Place to go, where they
Well,
can find you?
it is one person at a time. So just remember that whatever you do out there, just think that for that one person, it has a huge impact. I um, personally come from a family of freaks, so my parents um, were forcing us to listen to motivational tapes when we were kids every Sunday morning, and
Oh,
we were brainwashed into Zig Ziglar and Og Mandino and Jean-Marc Chaput, and it was hilarious. We had to memorize their books and all this. That's us. So my brother and I were rolling
that's
our eyes,
funny.
and I don't, the story of the starfish story, which old. Well, I'm 50 years old and I was hearing it as a child, but back then it was brand new. It's the story of the man on the beach that's throwing starfishes in the water, right? And that little girl asked, "What are you doing, sir?" He said, "Well, I have to throw them back in the water because on the beach they're going to die." And she said, "Oh, sir, there's hundreds of starfishes on the beach. There's no way you're going to save them all." And then he took one and he said, "Well, for that one, it makes a whole difference."
Oh
So
my God.
that's the story my parents used to tell me when I was a kid. And when I was 6 years old, I wanted to become a starfish savior. I didn't want to be a nurse or an actress. I wanted to be a starfish savior. And today, this is the biggest joke in the speaking community with my speaker friends. We're like, "Oh my gosh, are they still telling the starfish story? It's such an old story." And we're laughing at this story. But I was hearing it when I was young, when it was new. So it's still true. For that person, it makes a huge difference. For that person, you're going to open the door. It makes a huge difference. So I would love to have a virtual coffee with you if you are listening to this, and if you want to learn more about confidence and mindset, because really that is my topic: how to get rid of the negative self-talk, the bad habit, the trauma. If you were uh, backstabbed in a previous job and now you're not trusting your team, or maybe there's limiting beliefs that keep repeating. We have 70% of our thoughts that are negative, and we trash talk ourselves all the time. So if you want to get rid of those, that's really what I do. You can book at thinkyourself.com/schedule to book a virtual coffee, or just go on my website, thinkyourself.com, to have a look at the different offerings. And I have a coaching certification if you want to do what I do. Also, you can look into my coaching certification. You go to thinkyourself.com/online for all my online courses there. So I'll be happy to have a
Wonderful.
chat soon with you.
Wonderful. And I'll make sure to put that in the show notes so that people can go find it easy too. I really appreciate this words of wisdom chat, and it's so refreshing to have you on here today. Thank you so much, Nathalie. And to everybody else, I hope that you are inspired. Now go light that fire under your bottom and get busy making some impact. And we'll see you next time on the Badass Reset Club.